You know, the other day I learned a lesson from a 5-year-old, one of the most powerful lessons on neuroplasticity, on rewiring our brain, on brain development. And I think it's this lesson that if we can understand and embrace and harness in our own lives, that can be the key to unlocking our freedom from pornography. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Coach Frank Rich, and in 2020, I founded Rebuilt Recovery, the world's #1 coaching organization for high-performing men looking to quit porn and rebuild their lives. And in the last 4.5+ years, we've helped 1,100+ men walk the pathway to creating freedom from pornography addiction in their life. So in today's video and podcast, I'm going to share with you this one lesson that I learned over the weekend from a 5-year-old, and how embracing this life lesson, embracing this small principle in your life can be the key to not removing pornography out of your life, but is the key to unlocking neuroplasticity so your brain can reboot and rewire itself. Now, if you're a man that is out there and struggling, you're looking for a community of men to support you in this journey, we've just launched a brand new free school community called the Rebuilt Man, the #1 free group in the world for men looking to become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their life. So you can find us at school. That's SKOOL.com/The Rebuilt Man, or click the link down there in the show notes below or in the description box here on YouTube to join us in our school community. But over the weekend, I was having a conversation with somebody outside in the front yard of my house. And they had driven over, they were bringing me something that I had left at their house the night before. Now, this person had a 5-year-old in the back seat with them. And we got engaged in a conversation, catching up on the night before, talking about the coming plans for the upcoming day. But in my peripheral, I could see this 5-year-old, I could see this boy fiddling around, touching everything, opening up the center console. He then jumped from the back seat into the front seat, opened up the glove box, started to pull out the owner's manual, started to browse all the pages, started to play with the knobs on the console, started to turn the volume up, volume down, started to play with the AC controls. It was almost as if he had ADD, which if you've ever been around 5-year-olds, most of them act like they have ADD. But later on in the day, I began to think about, what was Baker doing? Why was he so restless? He's known me. I've spent a large amount of time with this kid. It's not like he was in an uncomfortable environment with somebody he didn't know. But what dawned on me is that a 5-year-old's brain is in an early developmental stage. The parts of his brain that you and I guides our life, the part of the brain that allows us to make rational decisions, to have impulse control, and a 5-year-old isn't there. Now, what 5-year-olds do have is they have some of the highest degrees of neuroplasticity. So what he was doing while his mom and I were having a conversation was he was exploring the world. He was getting familiar with his surroundings. Now, that's what he was acting out, but what was happening underneath the hood is his brain was building a map of the world. You ever notice how young kids, toddlers, infants are filled with curiosity? They want to know why. They want to know why things happen the way that they do. They want to know why things are a certain way. They want to know what's behind the door, what's inside of the drawer. They're not doing this to make you angry. They're not doing this for any other reason than to understand the world. And the understanding of the world comes in the map that our brain develops. Now, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you've probably felt like you've lost some of that childlike curiosity in your life. It's been suppressed and pushed down inside of you. But what's happened is your brain has developed a map of the world that now dictates and drives your life from a subconscious level. We know that full brain development for men is somewhere between the ages of 23 and 25. Now, that doesn't mean that neuroplasticity stops, but we have to be more intentional about it later on in our life. So if through the early stages of brain development, if through the early stages of life development, curiosity is the pathway to neuroplasticity, then wouldn't that be an indicator that if we're struggling to break free, if we're struggling in our addictive patterns, that to create new ones, to induce new neuroplasticity, to get us out of this stuck pattern that we're in, we need to embrace curiosity in our own life. You know, I think back to 2019 when I started to walk down this path of freedom for myself. One of the first things that I realized very early on is that there was a new zest, a new joy, a new passion for living. Many of the things that I had gotten away from when I was a younger kid began to reappear in my life with much more pleasure, with much more joy, with much more passion. I was living out the curiosity of the young Frank as a 35-year-old man. And at the time, I didn't realize that this was such a big part in the success that I was having in getting free from porn. But as I've worked with well over 1,000 men at this point, we've had 6, 7, 8,000 guys come through various coaching courses and programs that we've created. One of the key indicators is these guys' curiosity for learning, curiosity for exploration, curiosity for development, all must grow in their journey. You know, I tell men all the time inside of our program that your freedom, the equation to your freedom is not the current version of you minus porn. Your freedom sits on the other side of a new individual, the creation of a new identity, new thoughts, new habits, new routines. But in order for these things to succeed, it's got to start with curiosity. You got to be curious about what a new life without pornography can mean to you. You got to be curious about what you can accomplish if you set your eyes and aim on a important goal. You got to be curious about who can I become if I get control of this area in my life. What things from my childhood have I suppressed? What things that I feared judgment from others have I not taken the step out to do? I was curious in 2019 of what having a podcast would have been like. So I took a leap of faith. And every week when I showed up to do an interview, I was stepping into new territory for me, for my life. And what I had to do is my brain had to build a map of this new territory. In the map building process in our brain is neuroplasticity at work. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to create new neural pathways through new experiences. If you're constantly doing the same things that you've always done, there's no need for you to grow or develop in those areas. So if you're stuck and you're struggling and you haven't yet broken free, I have to ask you the question, what new things are you exploring? What curiosity are you living out on a day-to-day basis? If you're stuck doing the same things, you're going to continue to get the same result. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So the lesson from this 5-year-old that you are probably waiting for is the pathway to your freedom is going to be found on the path of curiosity. Curious about learning, curious about growing, curious about developing yourself. This is why in our program, we walk our guys through unlocking new creative endeavors, through new physical pursuits. We had them brush their teeth with the opposite hand, eat with the opposite hand, take a different pathway to work, break the same patterns that you're living out every single day. And what you'll find is in the new patterns will be the new you. And it is only in that new you that freedom will be found. The pathway to unlocking freedom and getting porn out of your life forever is going to be found in the curiosity that you live out. Like I said, guys, we've launched a brand new free school community. It's already become the #1 porn addiction community on school. Something I'm incredibly proud of that we've accomplished in less than a week. School.com, SKOOL.com/The Rebuilt Man, or click the link down there in the show notes below to join us. But guys, you got to be curious. You got to be curious about who you can become. You got to be curious about what life can bring to you. You got to be curious about what sits on the other side of freedom for you. God bless you guys. Coach Frank at the Rebuilt Man. We love you. We'll see you in the next one.